Morehouse College and Tuskegee University men's basketball teams were selected to compete in the 2025 NBA HBCU Classic presented by AT&T. The fourth annual NBA HBCU Classic will be played in the Bay Area as part of NBA All-Star 2025 and will once again celebrate the rich traditions, on-court athleticism, and commitment to excellence of the HBCU community. For tickets, visit nba.com/all-star.
Yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. I believe Mike Washington is still out on assignment. We're going to have to put an APB on him or say, where is Mike Washington, as in, where is Santiago? With that being said, excited to be in here, jumping off a little bit, had to make the road trip down to Prairie View as they did the official announcement for the new head football coach, Coach Tremaine Jackson. So was in the house for that. Pretty good stuff, but we'll get into some more talk about some additional football changes. Just Monday, we had the official announcement for Alabama A&M as they did the press conference. So football coaches in the SWAC press conferences are going heavily this week. With that being said, welcome to episode 609 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NEIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. In short, we just call it HBCU sports pedagogy. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to our KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, the beautiful home at Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, let's bring on the other co-hosts that are getting ready to get all the magic to you, get your latest updates in terms of the sporting news. Who we got in the building here? As I straighten up my sweater, I want to make sure my purple is looking right there. Little peas there, you know, we got to make it look right. I can't go around here and not show off because we got Wilton Jackson II.
Oh, man.
And he is out there again. I know it's past, but happy celebration on Founders Day for Kappa Alpha Psi. Yeah. They like to say around those parts, J5. So I saw you out there doing your thing. You look really presentable. I'll put it that way.
I appreciate that.
Stay sharp a little bit, I might add, but you know that goes to y'all heads a little bit. So
oh God, I knew some shade was coming. It was hard for him to even say that, but you know what? I can appreciate that. I can appreciate it a lot.
But think about this, Wilton. You know it's serious, and you know you were part of the team when I come to you first.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So you know there was much respect in that, and a lot of respect for the men of Kappa Alpha Psi, all the work they do in terms of community building in men, and just continue to do the labor of love that we do in terms of holistically for the Panhellenic groups out there. So as you're the first one in a row, we're not going to do like they do in church and just say everybody. We're going to recognize you all, and then we'll go through the process as we get to the rest of them. That's how benefit I am and benevolent in terms of making sure you get the true recognition you got. With that being said, that's enough of that. Enough of them folks over there. Charles Bishop, how you doing today?
Doing well, Doc. Doing well.
We're gonna go put Wilton back in the corner. Go.
I know. little chilly in H-Town. We got basketball up and rolling, so we're in the midst of it now.
Yeah, we'll get a chance to talk a little bit about that. We'll get some superlatives from the MEAC. We'll get that information to you also for the SWAC. But with that being said, with our resident sports information director, let's go to AD Drew. How are you doing, AD?
I'm going. This next comment I put up is going to sum how I feel. If it's freezing in Daytona, you know how I feel up here in Atlanta right now, man. There's a reason why I still have my hoodie on and I'm in the house. I'm just gonna say that it is hot tamale weather. It is hot chocolate weather. It is hot whatever weather that there is. It is time for it in the deep South, my brothers. That's all I can say. It's. I've had women who've been warmer to me than it is outside right now.
Wow.
How
about that analogy?
Yeah.
And I've been around some cold women. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's deep. I would go do my little thing until chill out, close his ears, because I'm gonna be like, oh, how cold is it? That I was like, it don't even work no more.
Yeah. But forget a polar bear's toenails. This is cold as some women.
An Eskimo buying ice to stay warm right now. It's so cold.
Yeah.
That's a bit much. Let's get into it and get into some of these moves so we can move in here and get to some real sports talk. I did want to say this, and I'll probably say it for those that may join a little later, catch again. But this is dear. I don't ask for a lot of our members in terms of spending their hard-earned money. I know you all do that, but this is one thing that I really support and believe in. Join the BCSN and supporting local, youth in Oakland, California to see HBCU sports culture in action. Your donations of $20 or more will allow BCSN to purchase tickets for a local boy and or girls club to attend the HBCU NBA Classic. So we're going to do it for individual boys or girls to attend based on $20 or more donation. That is on February 15th. So donate now as soon as possible so we can make sure that we organize that. We have reached out to the Boys Club. This is officially supported by the NBA in terms of their programming and this initiative they have with the HBCU NBA Classic. So donate now via Cash App. That's $ my JBN my BCSN. So that's my MY JBN MY BCSN. Let's expose tomorrow's generation to HBCU culture so that we can keep our HBCU traditions going for students all over this country and really all over the world. Donations will be accepted through January 26th. So we need your support as soon as possible. Again, you know us coming on here. I rarely, if ever, asked you for funds for us. We find a way to get it done and just seek to entertain you. But this is one that I think is important because it goes beyond of what we're trying to do to make sure that we can get you this great news. So consider that. Again, I'll do it one more time as we fall out through the show. But let's get back into it. Let me go to Charles Bishop.
And Dr. Cavil, the link is on the scroll at the bottom if anybody wants to make a donation.
Perfect. Appreciate that heads up. Charles, what is some news of the day? Where are you going?
Yeah, well, let's start off. You talked about Tremaine Jackson and Prairie View were out there today, and then Sam Shade had his presser this past Monday. We also want to mention that Miles College, they introduced their new head coach, who is Chris Good. Miles College has named Chris Good as his new head football coach, and this was announced on Friday of last week. Good is a former stalwart of the University of Alabama, and in the National Football League was hired to replace Sam Shade, who took the Alabama A&M job. And this is a statement from Miles. We are excited for the future of Miles College football under the direction of Coach Chris Good and are confident that Coach Good's leadership will bring continued success to Miles College football, and that's a statement from Fred Watson, who is director of Miles College Athletics. So Chris Good takes over the helm at Miles.
Yeah, I was pretty excited about how quick this got done. I must admit, I was quite surprised because just didn't see the connection. But kudos for Miles College to jump on this. It seems like they had a plan. If not, they certainly moved extremely quickly and put a plan together that everybody get behind. So it'll be interesting to see how the new coach, Chris Good, is able to get going. Obviously, he has a lot of different connections and putting up there. So we will be following Miles. We know they had a lot of talent in terms of winning the SIC. With this day and age, usually you could say, hey, he had something already built, but with kids and young people, I should say, young men in this particular space, are able to get in the portal. One of the things he's going to have to do is quickly recruit to see how many kids he can maintain, and then obviously bring in additions to see where they go forward. So excited about that, and we'll see what that looks like. Let me go to you, Wilton Jackson II. As you open up things today, what's on your mind in the HBCU space?
So Shaw University brought in its former offensive coordinator to take over the program. They announced the appointment of Lamar Manigo as the new head football coach of the Shaw Bears. With a proven track record of success and dedication to student athlete development, Manigo brings a wealth of experience and leadership to the program. Manigo returns to Shaw, where he previously served as the offensive coordinator from 2016 to 2021, leading the Bears to some of their best offensive statistical seasons in program history. Most recently, Manigo served as the assistant head coach, offensive coordinator, and quarterbacks coach at Virginia State University, where he played an integral role in the Trojans' resurgence as a CIAA and HBCU powerhouse, but most recently appearing in the 2024 CIAA championship game. The statement that they released where we're happy to welcome Coach Lamar Manigo back to Shaw University, said George Knox, director of athletics. His passion for the game, dedication to mentoring student athletes, and commitment to excellence align perfectly with our vision for the football program. We are confident that he will lead the Bears to new heights.
Good stuff, Wilton. Good. I'm interested to see with that. Obviously, we got the tough news that the interim coach, the coach that they had announced coming in, obviously decided that he had to resign in terms or couldn't take the job because of illness. And so they quickly moved forward. You see Elizabeth City State is doing their stuff. But fascinating when you put all this together. AD Drew, what's on your mind?
Well, we just announced two coaches who have taken their job in the sport of football. Let's talk about a coach who decided to give his job up, and that being Savannah State's head coach Horace Broadnax. That name sounds familiar. All you guys with Hoya paranoia, like back in my day, know this name very well. He announced his retirement effective immediately on Monday, January 6th. Assistant coach Cleveland Thompson will assume the interim duties effective immediately. And I forgot to give credit. This comes from Joshua Jackson, assistant athletic director for media relations at Savannah State University. We thank Coach Broadnax for his leadership of the men's basketball program here at Savannah State, remarked Director of Athletics Opion Mashariki. I have immense respect and gratitude for everything Coach Broadnax has done. We congratulate him on his retirement and wish him nothing but the best in his future endeavors. Check this resume out, y'all. Broadnax spent 20 years at Savannah State after being named the program's 11th head coach in history on April 11th, 2005, and he had 3 championships during his tenure. Successful seasons 2011-2012. The Tigers won the MEAC regular season championship with the 14-2 conference record and earned a berth to the NIT. 2018, they also won the MEAC regular season championship, and they appeared in the CIT, that's a college insider.com tournament in 2013 and 2016, and in 2022 Savannah State claimed the SIAC men's tournament title, which earned them a berth into the Division II tournament.
Good stuff. Did you say 20 years at Savannah State?
I didn't believe until I read it, but yeah, he's been there 20 years.
Wow.
Maybe he hit that official date and got that state retirement. It's like, all right, y'all, holla. He wait a minute.
Charles can relate.
He retired on he retired on January 6th. He probably got vested on January 5th.
Yeah.
No, I'm just playing, y'all. I'm just playing. Please don't take that wrong.
Yep, you're right. Pin drop, all those vernacular, mic drop, all that. Because he was at Bethune-Cookman for a short while too, right?
No, that was the athletic director who came from Bethune-Cookman. Broadnax has been in Savannah State his entire coaching career.
Oh, his whole coaching career. Okay.
Yeah, and he used to be an attorney.
20 years. I'm like, man, I thought thinking about myself. I've been in the game that long. I got a little nervous.
Yeah, and he's an attorney also, because that's what he was doing before he became coach.
Good stuff. Well, let's go to our first break. We'll come back on the other side and talk a little bit more news and just get some general thoughts on basketball. In the third segment, we'll get into Liv's top 5 for men's and women's. We'll bring that up and get your thoughts in terms of what that looks like, as we will start bringing out our top 5, if you would, next week as we get a little more of the conference play in action. With that being said, we'll be right back after our first break.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
It's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
Morehouse College and Tuskegee University men's basketball teams were selected to compete in the 2025 NBA HBCU Classic presented by AT&T. The 4th annual NBA HBCU Classic will be played in the Bay Area as part of NBA All-Star 2025 and will once again celebrate the rich traditions, on-court athleticism, and commitment to excellence of the HBCU community. For tickets, visit nba.com/all-star.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Before we get into basketball for the third and final segment, we'll get into your thoughts on this first weekend. We'll do a little bit of update in the third segment, as I said, with Liv's top 5 as she has done, and kind of get your thoughts on where those teams are, whether you agree, disagree with the rankings thus far. Wanted to shout out. She's doing a great job in terms of putting that information out there. So I want to share some support in that area. But if you allow me to take a little bit of a personal privilege, I want to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, I told you earlier as we came in hot in a lot of ways, talking about Jermaine Jackson in Prairie View, and I mentioned as well Sam Shade over there at Alabama A&M. I'm sure that you got to see part of that, if not all of their press conferences. I just wanted to get your general thought process of what that sounded like. Your thoughts on the hires, even more so now as things kind of continue. Before I go to each of you, I'll give you a little update, Charles, in terms of what that looks like. Essentially, we acknowledge that Jackson State won the Celebration Bowl this year, and 80 Drew to some degree. If we take a year back, that talks about FAMU winning it. I think there was a little bit of discussion in today's press conference that talked about it's time for the West to step up. Yeah, that the West needs to do their part, right? And that there is a goal, obviously, to win, not just in terms of SWAC. Obviously, that's a significant goal, but one of the first steps in doing that is winning the Western Division. So I guess I can give a shout out to Carlos Brown in terms of Southern, we understand the success that you all have had of late. And there tends to be a team that is seeking to dethrone that down there on the hill, as they say around those parts, Prairie View. Coach Tremaine Jackson made sure that it was clear that that's his job and that's his goal. He added on that not only does he want to be at the top of the mountain in terms of the SWAC, that he wants to do it in terms of FCS as well, that there is a goal to make sure that you win your non-conference games. And Prairie View is one of the programs that has FCS programs the last half decade, if not full decade, at least one FCS, historically white college or universities, if not two on the schedule. So I thought that was interesting that he pointed out and recognized that in terms of that goal. Goal is to be top 5. We've seen HBCU programs over the last 5 years. Essentially, when I talk about the new SWAC in terms of expansion SWAC, we've seen that with teams get into that top 5 ranking, not just top 25, but top 10 for sure. With FAMU, North Carolina Central, we've seen teams in top 15. Jackson State, top 25. FAMU, Jackson State, North Carolina Central, to name a few of them. Tennessee State, even South Carolina State in that mix for this year. So that was fascinating when you talk about that. The other point was to talk about the goal of Prairie View looking at hosting a SWAC championship game, pushing the fans to do what's necessary beyond what he has to do on the field or what that looks like. So a lot of goals. Ended up saying he wanted to be in Atlanta, hold the trophy. So I kind of bring that all up, Charles, to make sure that you're on the clock, Charles. We're able to do that. I want to make sure you understand. And we're not going to be hard on you, but we do want our steak dinner. You have to choose to partner with 2 Prairie View guys. So
yeah. I got 2 steaks.
Yeah. Just making sure you come. So, make sure your wallet is good. Start stacking your chips, and we come. I like when Coach Prime did that, and we're gonna take that vernacular. At least I am. We come. And when his
words, I liked it.
Put it all together, so I might as well use it. So then you had Shay that talked about the same thing. That the desire is to be in Atlanta. And I told you all earlier that you have the Celebration Bowl effect. So this is clearly to me, right? We hear this with Michael Vick, Deshaun Jackson. This is clearly people understand the destination of choice at the end of the season is the Celebration Bowl. It doesn't mean if you don't get there and you happen to have a good record, because that's the expectation too, you go into the FCS playoffs, that you want to make a run in that. Coach Jackson said that as well. He said, hey, we want to be able to make a national championship run, whether it's HBCU or at the FCS level, in terms of those rankings. Period. I thought that was fascinating. And Shay talked about his goal, as I said, to get up there. What were your juxtaposition of the two in general with these new coaches coming in the SWAC? Obviously, we still have to see what Mississippi Valley is going to do. But at this point, do you believe the SWAC has gotten stronger, weaker? And what does that mean for the competition moving forward? I'm going to go with you, Charles, since I was picking on you a little bit. I'll let you talk.
No, I absolutely believe the SWAC has gotten stronger. I mean, when you take a look at Tremaine Jackson's resume, and you're talking about a coach who's just coming off playing for a national championship at the Division II level. I mean, that says a lot, and it says a lot that Prairie View was able to get a coach of that caliber. And then listening to him, he hit the bullet points. If I'm a Prairie View fan, this is music to my ears. This is what I want to hear. I want to hear, that these are the goals, to get to Atlanta or to play for a national championship. I love a press conference where you set the expectations to where, I want to reach in my wallet. I love it. I cannot stand a wishy-washy press conference where it's like, we're going to try and, it's going to take time. No, that doesn't fire me up to reach in my pocket. So thank you, both of those coaches, for setting the expectations way outside of what I might have come to the press conference to hear, and you got me excited. I love it. I think the conference has absolutely gotten stronger.
Good stuff. And he did make sure that they understood that the expectation that the alumni are going to do their side and continue to reach in their pocket. They might need to dig a little deeper in their pocket.
Sure.
I'd say, yeah. But he really got a lot of folks excited. The room was full, so that was a good thing to look at. And so you're right in a lot of ways. I agree with you. AD Drew, I'm going to come to you next. We'll save the other Jackson State guy.
I did not get a chance to watch either press conference today. I've got my own athletic department that I have to
That's true. Just a little something.
And oh, by the way, can I just throw this out there?
Mm-hmm.
I do have a former NFL player as a head coach in one of my programs also. Just want to remind everybody about that because we always forget about T-Mac. So, his name get left off of every list when they talk about all these NFL guys who are coaching at.
I like that. That is true.
At HBCU. So, yeah.
So can we assign celebrity coach to him too? I hate that, but okay.
Yeah, you might. You have no choice. That's what he's telling you. Yeah. If the shoe fits, wear it.
That's right.
Because everybody else is leaving the shoe off.
Exactly.
I'm gonna say this. Sam Shade went 1-9 his first year.
Mm-hmm.
2 years later, he's in the championship.
Mm-hmm.
T-Mac went 1-9 his first year. Let's see if the paths are similar. I'm just putting it out there.
You're speaking into existence.
I'm speaking into existence. I have data to follow. That's all I'm gonna say.
Shout out to Mike.
Yeah, human resources loves it too. Yes.
Yeah, and he has resources there within the city of Atlanta, and I am starting to see him. I'm gonna leave that alone, y'all. He did play for the Falcons, y'all, and he's in Atlanta.
That's true. Good stuff.
All right, but seriously, it's refreshing to see these coaches come in, and somewhere there's this about 6'2", 6'3", brown skin, bald head guy with a big grin on his face because everybody all of a sudden is still talking about his event. And he is somewhere loving the marketing that the free marketing that he is getting because everybody's opening press conference at the Division I level starts off with, I want to get to Atlanta. I have to get to the Celebration Bowl.
That's a good point.
John Grant. I'm bruh, you did that thing. You got true story. John Grant and the Celebration Bowl have changed the narrative over the last 10 years of how we evaluate our
very true. Very true.
And he and I have had this conversation, and so he has shifted that patience timeline and skewed it the other way. Atlanta or bust, baby. Let's go.
Well said, Drew. Well said in terms of the destination of desired. In a lot of ways, I believe it's a good thing. But you're absolutely correct when you talk about that change. As I said, I call it the Celebration Bowl effect. Hashtag the Celebration Bowl effect. And it'll be interesting to see what it looks like. Charles brought something up before I go to you, Wilton, to get your framework. Mm-hmm. Charles brought something up on one of our shows that still to this day resonates. This was about the talk of the SWAC championship game. And this is when it was decided at that time that they were no longer going to play it. And Charles talked about the fact that there are two generations that's all they knew. Mm-hmm. And all the history, 100 plus years at that time, 80 plus years, if you would, a lot of history in this way. Even if you talk about the golden years after the 50s, when you get the emergence of all the public institutions and the private institutions moving into this last expansion where you bring in a private school performing equipment. They had all the public institutions. And so that's a whole different era. But even with that, the uniqueness of the SWAC championship game and how it had an imprint on two generations. And thankfully for the leadership of the commissioner, Dr. Charles Cullen, and the presidents and chancellors at the time, that finding a way to continue with the SWAC championship game, now it's living on. But you're seeing that in real time with the Celebration Bowl.
Exactly.
As it's coming up on its first decade, and how you having a decade of fans, and more importantly, young folks, as we talk about the next generation, that's what they know in terms of HBCU at the FCS level. And I do not want to live out the Division II NIA program. And so it'd be interesting to see, as we had to talk about them, looking at figuring out some configuration of that as well. But that's fascinating. So you imagine if you can get to 2 decades of the Celebration Bowl, what that looks like. And that'd be, to some degree, 40 years of the SWAC championship game. Imagine what that looks like. But as we're at it, we're just talking about maybe even look at the first decade of the Celebration Bowl and how do you celebrate that? 10 years. In memorial in terms of the film, something that I'll put out there for free for John Grant to think about as that starts to come up relatively quickly. Wilton, get your perspective. One thing I love hearing from you, because you get to bring in a different generational framework. You get to bring in a different lens, if you would. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts in terms of this dialogue that we're having?
To your point, like when 2015 came around and you get the Celebration Bowl, it was something new. It was something new. We didn't necessarily know what it was going to be like. Obviously, it was some things that had been, put in the works, but like I know personally, I didn't know what to expect. And to Charles's point, like the only thing for specifically growing up in Jackson, you knew that after, if Jackson State was going to be competing, for example, there was a Capital City Classic, a Soul Bowl, and then after that, it was a SWAC championship. And 9 times out of 10, I remember it growing up being in Birmingham at Legion Field. And that's you knew that at the end of the season, that's where you wanted to be. It was going to be cold. It was going to be everybody there, all different, teams, things like that. There was going to be a big, big SWAC camaraderie. But then after that, it was kind of like just this major dead period, And then, of course, you had basketball season at the top of January, but it wasn't the same as that feeling that you got from a SWAC championship. And I mean, we even in just my childhood, like I saw a lot of good moments of SWAC football. So we're talking like 2005, 2006, 2007. One game that I think I remember the most is the performance of Jimmy Oliver at Jackson State. I mean,
2007.
Yeah, like the guy, he was not much bigger than me, and just slinging them. I mean, he made some defenses look crazy. And I remember telling to myself, like, it doesn't get much better than as a kid. And so now to see where where SWAC football was then, fast forward to now to 2024, all the extra marketing and publicity, the amount of people that you get, tuning in to watch the SWAC championship game, and then of course to your bigger point of the publicity that's surrounded around the Celebration Bowl, I can guarantee you, and just even if you just look beyond the numbers from where it started in 2015, to where it will be, even when it comes around to 2025, the excitement is outrageous. Like it's insane. And it's only going to continue to get bigger as long as we, like, as far as the media continue to promote it, but then also the work that John Grant did in starting it continues to grow as well.
Yeah, I mean, football is always cool. You can always talk about football, but in all seriousness, you get into the first week, D1 conference play, MEAC, SWAC, and even the non-conference, they're into like some of their second week, if you would. And you get into the NCAA Division II NAIA programs. They started conference play slightly before Christmas. Takes a little bit of break, as AD Drew has kind of told us in terms of the NAIA Division II. They find a way to keep moving as they get deeper into conference play. But you can't justifiably get all the way into basketball play for multiple reasons. But one of the reasons is you still have this coaching cycle.
Yep.
And it has to be good to be the king, as you said, AD Drew, from the standpoint that you are trying to talk about some basketball, which we will in the next segment, I promise you. But you got coaches that are coming on board and they are telling you that their goal is to do so well at the institution that they will end up in Atlanta for the celebration. Yeah, it don't get bigger than that. AD Drew, you put a great pin on it in terms of marketing and branding of your game. When you're literally, I'm gonna tease Grant because I'm gonna make it sound good, on the beach somewhere.
I don't think you're on the beach this week, Dr. Cavil. Go to the beach. Unless he's in the Bahamas.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I mean, when you do this well, that's what you do. You leave the cold in Atlanta and you go to the beach. You know what I'm saying? In the beach somewhere.
Yeah.
I like the Bahamas, so I'm going to give a free plug to my people down there in the Bahamas. In the Bahamas, on the beach, feet up, thinking, what is it, Mai Tais and Bahama Mamas?
multiple. Yeah.
Long Island teas. And
something ain't right with that, and we didn't get the invite. That's why I'm mad. With that, we're going to get my next break because I'm officially now mad because I am in this cold weather instead of Bahamas on the beach with John Grant sipping Bahama Mamas. That being said, we'll take our next break and come back on the other side, and we're going to talk a little basketball. Liv's top 5.
Greetings, Stathis. My name is Roland Austin, and I'm one of the directors at the 1876 Athletic Foundation. The 1876 Athletic Foundation was formed to promote the success of all 343 student athletes. Our overall goal is to fund scholarships for all of our student athletes. We ask that you help us in achieving this goal by donating to the 1876 Athletic Foundation via the QR code below or 1876.foundation. Your generous donation will help us continue to assist the needs of all of our Panther athletes. Thanks, and go Panthers.
At AutoMasters LLC, our mission is to serve our community by providing quality automobiles at affordable prices. All of our vehicles are inspected and certified to offer you the confidence in knowing you have a quality vehicle. Our goal is to provide you with a seamless process and positive experience for your automobile purchase. Financing recommendations and specific vehicle inquiries are available at your request. You can find us at www.automasters06.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Also, please feel free to contact Terrence Miles at 601-927-7794. And oh yeah, tell him Sonia sent you.
Tickets are on sale now for the 4th annual NBA HBCU Classic presented by AT&T, featuring Morehouse College and Tuskegee University. Don't miss this action-packed event happening at NBA All-Star 2025 and filled with competitive matchup and marching band performances celebrating HBCU pride. See you in the Bay.
Compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Let's talk about the men, and then we'll get in here and get some updates on the women in terms of seeing what that looks like as we get into it. So if you would bring up the top 5 for Liv's men's power ranking. As we get that going, let me ask your questions and get in here. Top 5. Bethune-Cookman had big win, rivalry game this weekend as they continue to look solid. They look pretty solid in non-conference play. They have a win over South Carolina State. I'm not sure people recall that. But South Carolina State is looking good. Don't let me get that wrong. So I'm not talking down on South Carolina State. But I want to see your thoughts on Bethune-Cookman in regards to qualifying or what they did this weekend. Only one game played in terms of FAMU on the road there. At number 4, you have Howard Bison. Man, they have a freshman that is electrifying, and people are already trying to put him in the transfer portal. I was like, can we get the season finished? I didn't know you can go in the transfer portal mid-season, but things are changing rapidly. Who knows? Southern went on the road, got 2 victories in Texas, which have been tough, maybe not as tough as lately. But the win against Prairie View becomes a little more formidable as they got a win. Prairie View did over Grambling State. Texas Southern went to overtime and got their win over Grambling. This is a Grambling team that won a championship last year. People do recognize that there will be a little rebuilding there, but many people thought they would be in the mix. In fact, the coaches had them picked preseason number 1. But Southern comes out the gate 2-0 after a really solid non-conference play. South Carolina State, sneaky good. I've heard some folks quietly talk about South Carolina State in terms of Herbert, to shout him out specifically. And then Norfolk State seems to continue to do what they do at the number 1 in the rankings. With that being said, what are your thoughts starting with you, Wilton?
I like this list for now. I don't put too much stock in it right now because for the main point, due to the fact that we hadn't played that many conference games yet, and we've gotten a dose of what non-conference play looks like. And again, I'm kind of under the mindset of, you want to do well in non-conference, but before you can even necessarily get to the end goal of the season, you have to go through the gauntlet of your conference play, and this is the most important part of the season. So right now, for this particular week, the teams that are listed: Norfolk State, South Carolina State, Southern, Howard, Bethune-Cookman is good with me. I'm very much obviously good with Bethune-Cookman at 5. Reggie Theus is going to have his squad together. And to your point, Dr. Cavil, a lot of people may not necessarily pay attention or haven't paid attention to Bethune-Cookman as much, but it's definitely a team you want to keep your eyes on. I can guarantee you, the freshman guard, Harper at Howard, he looks really good. Yeah. He looks real good. And I'm interested to see how he's going to continue to, progress. As obviously as MEAC play gets going. Southern,
that game he had against Delaware State. And Delaware State, there's an argument that they could be in the top 5.
Right. No, for sure. And Southern, obviously, that's not really much of a surprise there. South Carolina State, I'm good. Norfolk State, Robert Jones, the job he's doing year in and year out. So I'm good with what it is right now.
Good stuff. Let me go to you, Charles, and then I'm gonna go to you, AD Drew. I sent the women's as well again, so check that. But as I go to you, Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of the men's before we got to the women?
Norfolk State being who they are. Standard is standard, quote, so to speak, with regards to Norfolk State. But South Carolina State is a team that just by happenstance, I caught their game against Georgia, and it was a relatively good game. I think they only lost by 7 to Georgia. So it just, one of those games that kind of stuck out in my head. I'm like, oh, okay. Look at South Carolina State. And then for them to sweep Baltimore this past weekend on the road, that jumped out for me. So I was like, huh. So, it's one of those situations where you kind of take a look at like, okay, is this South Carolina State, are they the truth? Are they somebody that can stack up against Norfolk State down the line? I think, keep an eye out for Seneca Willoughby for Bethune-Cookman. Sharpshooter, 4 for 4 against FAMU, knocking down threes. You're always kind of looking for that individual who can knock down some outside jumpers, especially you got a guard that can penetrate and kick it out, and somebody that was a dead eye for Bethune-Cookman, Seneca Willoughby. But they also have a young man who's double-double situation. So they look to be like a pretty strong team going forward when you take a look at Bethune-Cookman.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let me go to you, 80 Drew, on the men's side. Give me your thoughts in terms of the top 5. How about it? You in agreement, or are you trying to sneak somebody else in there?
You know, I don't know if you guys are like. I get up every morning and I watch Unsportsmanlike on ESPN, and you know they have this segment, the top five contenders, and they don't even put the Kansas City Chiefs on the list anymore. It's the top 5 contenders to the Kansas City Chiefs. That's what Norfolk State basketball is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You know,
seems, and what's tough is it seems like it's men's and women.
Yeah, it's the top. Liv really needs to add one more to be fair, and it should be D1 men's power 5 to challenge Norfolk State. That's what it really needs to be.
I like that. It could be just the 6. Well, then I like something about 6. So I
wonder why. Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to say that out loud. But no, seriously, fellas, it's one weekend. We got 1, maybe 2 data points, depending on the schedule.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, I'm not excited yet. Stevie, after King Day, I'll start really.
Yep.
Okay, this team has the potential. By the end of the month, then I could start getting excited about these teams and everything. Yeah, Bethune came in and whooped my alma maters. You know what? Number 4 on this top 5.
Actually, a very competitive game.
Yeah, it was a competitive game, but we lose by 1 point. They whooped out. You know what? We're talking about the orange, green, and the burgundy and gold.
Yeah, anyway. That's true. I stand corrected.
But the number 4 team, you know, I guess I would get to see this up front and close and personal and see how good this freshman is that you're talking about, Dr. Cavil, because on January 20th on the ESPN Family Networks, Morehouse gets to take on Howard, and we'll see how good we are after defeating previously undefeated Miles this weekend. Just have a shameless plug. In overtime. Shameless plug, and Liv's number 14, Howard. So we get to see how good we are when we get to step it up a level. I just hope that traffic is not all crazy as we'll be in DC on Inauguration Day. Lord Jesus, I'm not looking forward to that.
It will be crazy.
Yeah. Martin Luther King holiday, the game. Big time matchups that day.
Do you think those folks in DC for the inauguration are really going to be caring about King Day?
No.
Okay. I just want to make
that doesn't stop me from doing myself because I'm not having a bit of concern about the inauguration. You can count me out. I can care less about what television show is on. I will be knee deep in doing something else. So feeling is mutual. With that being said, we're going to take our next break. We'll come back in our last thing. We'll talk about women's basketball. But before we do that, I did want to shout out a little bit. Y'all need to give some recognition and love to Alabama State. They had a very solid win. Last minute layup allowed Alabama State to beat Arkansas Pine Bluff yesterday. Final score is 93 to 91. CJ Hines hits that game winner as he scores 23. Big time matchup in terms of how they getting it done there. Shout out to CJ Hines with the big layup to get the game winner. Big time plays. Big time players make big time plays. With that being said, give some love to Jackson State. They got it done. And I like the fact that a game against the rival means something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with the teams coming in with records that many people certainly would not put a lot of stake in it. But you look at the reactions from both coaches. One thing I will say is that it meant something. Yeah. I think there's something about sports, regardless of what level, what's going on in your record, when it means something, it means something. And so shout out to Jackson State for getting the victories, men's and women's, close games in terms of that. So shout out as we turn the page and go to the women's side of it. but wanted to make sure I got some love. Tennessee State got a much-needed conference win, but Hampton, after coming in after non-conference, struggled a little bit early in conference play. A&T is trying to still get their legs up under them, so it'll be interesting in there in terms of that. With that, as we said, we'll take our last break, come back on the other side, talk about the women's top 5 from Libs and see what these gentlemen have to say about that. This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, trying to get down. It's like a loop machine.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil's Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Charles, Wilton, and AD, the professors in the building. Before we get into the women, join BCSN in support of local youth in Oakland, California to see HBCU sports culture in action. Your donations, $20 or more, will allow the BCSN to purchase tickets for a local boy or girl to attend the HBCU NBA Classic on February 15th. Donate now via Cash App at $MYJBN MYBCSN. That's MYJBN MYBCSN. Let's expose tomorrow's generation to HBCU culture so that we can keep our HBCU traditions going. Donations will be accepted through January 26th. Those that donate before Saturday, the first 5 that donate $20, I'll match and put it out there. So if you can get it in before Saturday midnight, I'll match the first 5 that donate with a donation of $100 to honor those first 5 that donated. See, Wilton, I showed you a little love with the J5. I should have said 6. With that being said, I just want to let you know that it's fair out here, and then we kid you because we care. But let's get into the women top 5. Let's give Liv the appropriate love she has for dropping January 7th. This is week 9, as she's been doing this all season. As we get into it, at number 5. This is the men, so let's get into that women there. I'll start reading as we get that update there. At number 5, we have Texas Southern Tigers. A little bit of surprise in terms of what it looks like there. Howard University is number 4. Before I get into Howard and their solid win that they had in their matchup, Texas Southern surprised a lot of people. Came out of the box, getting a win against Southern, coming out of the box, and then that Thursday, if you would, getting it done, and then Saturday in that matchup, they get it done as well. So they beat Southern and Grambling State to make a major statement, as they had a great weekend. And number 4, you have Howard University. The Bison continue to be solid in terms of their program and maintain a top level 5 program over the last decade, if you would. A new entrant is Alabama A&M. New coach, new swagger for sure. You're done with big victories as they continue to push forward. The Bulldogs will be one to keep your eyes on for sure. Coppin State, the Eagles are in the mix. This is one that probably surprised a little bit, but they've had a very solid season thus far, particularly in conference play. They get out of the gate early and get it going on. Number 1, and it is the opposite of Coppin State because this shouldn't surprise anybody, which are the Spartans. Norfolk State, by now, you have to be asleep, even if you're not an HBCU fan. You've heard about this team if you're out of the SEC country because they've beaten 2 SEC teams, to say nothing else in terms of that. And let me give you a little bit of part of that. The SEC and the Big Ten have 14 of the top 25 teams in the top 25 this week.
Yep.
That's over 50%. Just for you all that are not quick with your math there. So that gives you a little bit about the big money at the SEC. Obviously, some teams that are not in that ranking, but who cares when Norfolk State chops down the tree? We're going to make sure that they're recognized and get some love. Beyond that, they didn't get a letdown as you do come back in conference play. They keep it chugging, which says a lot. So I'm going to go to you, AD Drew. What are your thoughts in terms of top 5?
Although Norfolk's at the top, this is not the same as kind of like the men are, where it's Norfolk and everybody else to challenge Norfolk on the women's side. But this Norfolk State team looks to be damn good. Just like their men are, the challenges in the locker room that's right next door to you. That might be your biggest competitor if you live in the Tidewater area. When it comes to basketball, Coppin State and Norfolk are the only 2 programs on the women's side that actually came into conference play north of 500. I believe Coppin came in one game over 500 coming into this weekend. Also, something else that I find kind of interesting, the fact that 3 of the top 5 are MEAC teams. We've long seen that the other way around, where 3, even 4 of the top 5 in women's basketball have been SWAC teams. And obviously we know the team that's absent from the polls for the first time, because you always have to do a double take when you don't see that team in Mississippi not on any of these women's basketball rankings. It's really going to be interesting. Is Alabama A&M going to be that next team, that next potential dynasty when it comes to women's basketball in the SWAC, or will they fade down the stretch? Only time will tell. But that's one of the storylines that I really want to watch. Is Dawn Thornton ready to be to take her queendom in SWAC basketball?
Good stuff. Great points. I'm gonna save you a little bit. Your Rattlers got the big win, and did
you expect anything less?
No, that's why I was making sure that
coach pressure, man.
And you get 100 wins for your coach. Big time matchup. Big time as you start to get there already in coaching. With that being said, let me go to you, Wilton. What are your thoughts in terms of the top 5?
Norfolk State, obviously number 1. They anything can happen, but this is very much the best team amongst HBCU basketball on the women's side. a close to Coppin State. I feel like that's going to be their biggest competition. And luckily, if I'm not mistaken, they play on Saturday this week. I think that they have a game against each other on Saturday, so that'll be one to watch. Alabama A&M, to AD's point, I'm interested to see if Don Thorne is ready to take that next step as the next major face as a coach in the SWAC. Ironically, Thursday, they play Jackson State at Jackson State. So we will see very quickly. I will be in attendance for that game. We'll see very quickly, has Alabama A&M for sure taking that shift or taking that step, or they're still more so building to where they want
or
the
is access denied at the top. Yeah, we'll see real quick. I like
exactly
that.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Is Jackson State, Alabama A&M one of those single games where only play one time, or would they play home and home this year? Because I know it's a couple of teams that you only play once.
I think
this early, that's usually a home and away.
Yeah,
but I'll get that out of here as we bring Charles in there.
Because I was going to say, to Wilton's point, you got to get the sweep. Just for me, you got to get the sweep if you're going to say that you're taking over the queendom.
Hey, look at this. They only play one. It is one of the only.
Yeah, it was only one go round. Interesting.
So that makes this game that much more pointing to your point, Drew. Good call when you talk about that. I thought that was one of the guns played twice, but only once. Charles, what are your thoughts on the top five?
A very interesting narrative. Is Don Thornton the new face of women's basketball in the SWAC? I think that's interesting kind of storyline to follow. I mean, a great opening when you take a look at what Alabama A&M did over the weekend. But I thought what turned my head the most and was just being out here in Houston was Texas Southern. No way did I see Texas Southern's women's team starting out 2-0. And what's very interesting to me, they out-rebounded Southern on Thursday and came back and did it again against Grambling on Saturday. And it's just something to keep your eye out for, especially to have a six-man, if you will, Treasure Thompson, who can give you points and can rebound. And she's relentless on the offensive board. So it's a name to just keep in mind in terms of if we see Texas Southern actually kind of start making this upward trajectory move. So it's something to keep in mind. But we've all talked about Norfolk State, they being the standard. Like I said, they've knocked off two SEC teams, and it's going to be a fun matchup with Coppin State coming to town.
Yeah, to your point, when you talk about Texas Southern, Grambling, both and Southern both were able to defeat Prairie View. So they come out of there 1-1. So the fact that you got wins over teams that are able to get one win looks impressive. On Thursday, they dominated for most of that game. They had a second period where they outscored Grambling 17-9. Then they came back in the third period and outscored them by 10, 31-21. Grambling did rally in the fourth quarter, but they were able to hold them off for an 85-74 win. Then they were able to win a different type of game. They came out first quarter were pretty even, but they got scored by Southern 18-8 in the second quarter. In the end, Southern continues to put it as they come out of the locker room in the third quarter. Southern wins that 16-8. But look at this close in the fourth quarter. They outscored Southern 27-8. When's the last time you've seen a team that's been able to do that to a Southern
team that traditionally plays great defense?
I know it's on the road, but still. Munchies is a big-time coach, winning championships himself, both as a head coach and assistant coach. I thought that was a major statement, to get down and keep playing, come from behind, get the victory, holding Southern to just 8 points in the fourth quarter. So you do it on the defensive side and able to get some offense going to come back to the tune of outscoring them 27-8, getting the final score 55-51. So good points there. I'll get you all out of here on this one. Just give me your overall thoughts on men and women in the SPLAC this weekend. What are your general thoughts? Going with you, Charles, first. What are your thoughts in terms of this first weekend of action? And give a little bit of thought of your early feeling of this Thursday night games.
On the men's side, it's surprising Grambling 0-2 thus far to start the season, and on the women's side, Texas Southern 2-0 to start the season. So those are two of my head turners. They just happen to be out here in Houston this weekend. I think the Thursday games are. It'll be. I want to see when the students come back. You know how exciting the environment, the atmosphere will be when the students come back. So that'll be interesting to see. So still kinks to work out with regards to Thursday.
Yeah, I'm liking it so far. I'm liking it. I know it's early. I still got to get a feeling for it. Your point with bringing the students in should bring an extra framework to it. I'm intriguing to see how that looks like. But the freedom of the additional time and just getting the matinee to yourself, same way with Monday, is going to be interesting to me, and I like it thus far. Wilton Jackson II. What are your thoughts on this first weekend?
First weekend, to Charles' point, my biggest shock is Grambling. Not having, getting that win, and I'm a little worried right now because I definitely had high expectations for them. But again, it's only the first weekend. It's a lot more games to be played in conference play. And then on the women's side, like really, just is Alabama A&M going to be that team? I really want to see that, and that's why I'm really intrigued by this game on Thursday as they come into Jackson, and really, honestly, seeing what Jackson State's women's team is going to look like. Because of course, obviously, it's a new coach. They get that first big win, and I'm sure you saw the clip when she was hugging, A.D. Robinson after that win. So I'm interested to see what it's going to look like, and it'll be a good dose for fans to see what this team is going to look like too. Because no one really knows right now.
Attention to that, because one thing is we do have to kind of get into this Thursday matchup. I'm leaving at the office thinking I'm getting ready to go home, and I said, "Oh, it's a game," and so obviously on my way to the garage of the car. And I was like, well, I need a chance to see a little action before I go home. Right. And it was very worth it. So to your point, I'm glad you point out that there's a big matchup for multiple reasons to look at in Jackson with Alabama A&M coming to town. A.D. Drew?
Wow. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to unpack this particular weekend, but I do have one on the women's side. Has anybody seen Arkansas Pine Bluff? That's been a name and the reason I say that's been a name over the last couple of years on the women's side that we've been talking about being that team that would challenge Alabama A&M would challenge Jackson State and give them a good run and things like that. But they're sitting 0-2 right now.
0-2, and they got beat up pretty well. Alabama State beats them on Thursday 58-46, to your point. 12-point spread. Then Alabama A&M, probably part of the expectation was that, but still, it was tough too. 66-52, so 14. So they got a little bit of work to do. Certainly could understand as you rebuilding the program in a lot of ways that can happen. But great point you're making there, A.D. Drew, that how quickly we forget about some teams.
Yeah, and as far as the Thursday Monday split, as I like to call it, I did talk to one administrator, athletic director, and just kind of like, how was it this weekend? How did everything go? And that person, because I don't want to reveal gender, that person said that it's a work with the logistics, because that's extra day that we've got that I have to be here at night now, to oversee all of these things. Extra day you've got to get your security, your ticket takers, your table staff, just an extra day that in that role that person has to deal with, and just getting used to it. It's like it's too early to tell, but right now I can kind of tell he's not a fan of it because of the work on the back end of having to do this 3 times in 5 days.
Well, I'd imagine. Now it's a little extra rest when they're on the road, but certainly at home, that is an extra day. And it'll be fascinating to see how that looks like. The only thing I can say, unfortunately, welcome to big time athletics.
Tough.
I will say this. I know a couple of folks, Texas Southern University, after a late night, game started late, and then it went to overtime. There were a couple of folks at school. I guess you can figure it out, Texas Southern University, where I'm sure a couple of folks called in and say, hey, I'll check y'all out.
I'll be a little late.
Yeah, I'll see y'all Wednesday, if not a little late.
Right.
That being said, thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share a podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports. That's Dr. J. Kenyatta Cavil, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop. We hope you enjoyed the show. Again, we want to thank you for listening. Dr. Cavil Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. On Wednesday, we'll jump back in and bring in AD Drew if we can get him into here. If not, we're certainly going to cover a little bit of the mid-major and give you some love of what's going on the mid-major side of things. That's NCAA Division II programs that are CIAA, SIAC. Give you insight on the NAIA programs, HBCU Athletic Conference, as well as those independents out of the Sooner Athletic Conference with Langston playing some good basketball. Some people would say they have two teams in the hunt for a national run at a national championship. We shall see if that's true. Red River Athletic Conference and
undefeated on the women's side.
Say what?
Xavier is undefeated on the women's side.
That's another one. Keep your eyes on. I'm glad you brought that up. And we told you about Florida Memorial. Keep your eyes on them as well. With that being said, we look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. And Drew will make sure that you get all your insights, Division II NIA programs, as you deserve to get that. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, that's DrKenyattaCavil, Facebook and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on Facebook and YouTube. Shout out to all the Prairie View faithful, those that showed me love this weekend, earlier today, I should say. Appreciate that. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Drew?
Lecture.
Wilton?
Dismissed.
You even say that smooth.
Everybody.